This is Alexa Linton, and you're listening to the Whole Horse Podcast. I'm coming to you from the Cowichan Valley on beautiful Vancouver Island in Canada, and I'm excited to be bringing amazing instructors from around the world to share their knowledge about all the ways that we can keep ourselves and our horses well and happy, and about some of the cutting-edge techniques, training, and different aspects that are coming into the horse industry and changing it from within. I'm so excited you're here, and I'm excited about the times that we live in and the shifts that are happening in the horse industry before our eyes. Let's get started. Hello and welcome. It's Alexa Linton, and you're here for the Whole Horse Podcast. We're here in May, and it's been quite interesting times around the world. And I've been loving recording more podcasts as I've had more time at home. And today on the podcast, I have a guest from Horsefulness Training. We have Karine Vandeborre. We'll see if I got that pronunciation. I probably didn't get it quite right, but welcome, Karine.
Hello,
Thank you for
hello,
being here today.
hello.
Hi there. I came across I was referred actually to your work, and I've been really enjoying reading about the work that you're doing with horses and training and also with riders. And I'd love it if you could just take a few moments here, Corinne, to share about your work and what your focus is with
hmm
horses and riders.
hmm
Mm.
yes, I teach horsefulness training. So I work with people who have problems in the relationship with their horse. So I try to help them to build a stronger relationship again and to build really a true connection based on communication with the horse. But also in the saddle, so problems in the saddle, or people who are just interested in knowing more about horse communication, I help them. And I focus a lot on the connection. So starting from being grounded and calm and connected with yourself. And from that place, you then connect with the horse. So that is my main focus when I train and teach people.
Mm, mm. I could see now why the name is perfect, the horsefulness training. The mindfulness and
Yes,
thoughtfulness
yes,
and
it's
all of
true.
that good stuff. And so for you, what was that journey to understanding the need for riders to be more sort of in their body, more aware
Mhm.
of themselves? Where did that sort of arise from for you?
I think that was a long journey, and it was, yes, throughout the years that I learned more and more about that because I was always, since my teenage years, with horses, and most of the time, not the most easy horses. And so, yeah, it grew throughout the years. So I don't know where it originated exactly, but I remember my first very difficult horse, who was a school horse, and there I could develop a really strong connection with that horse after a while. So I think there is, the source of where it all started. And then when I started working independently, then I got more and more difficult horses with the goal to help them. And at one point I started to realize, the more calm I am, the better it works. And from that point on, or yeah, from that moment on, when this realization came, I could really develop this in a more conscious way. And it's still growing, of course, because during your whole life this evolves. So yeah.
Yes, a constant evolution of
Yes.
our awareness as riders and humans in
Mm-hmm.
general. Yes, yes, absolutely. And with this awareness, this is somewhere that I've focused as well. I think we we learn what we most need to know. Obviously, I've been very kind of more anxious, ungrounded human earlier on in my days.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of with riders like that who might be a little bit more out of their body, or not able to kind of manage or work with their dynamics or their emotions, what are some of the things that you share with them or help them with?
Well, the first thing I think is important is that you can connect with your body. So when you're anxious or you have strong emotions, then most of the time you're in your head too much because you're thinking about it, you have fear, you're stressed out. And so the connection with your body is less. And then when you can reconnect, then these strong emotions will start to calm down, and you can feel your confidence and your trust growing again. So what I do first is I help people to reconnect with their body. And for me, the best way to do that is also for people who are not used to that, is to connect with the breath, because breathing, that is your body. And if you can connect with your breath again without even how can I say, trying to influence the breath, so changing the breath, just the thing of connecting with the breath, so observing the breath and feeling the sensations of the breath, it will already help you to go more into your body and to calm down. So that is the first step for me when I work
Mm,
with clients, or for myself, when I have, let's say, a difficult horse. It happens with me still that, yeah, I can get a bit nervous as well. So when I feel that, I connect with my breath.
mm, and I noticed for you, one of the things that was really interesting me was that you are honing in on different ways to connect to the breath, even different body parts to be aware of when connecting with the breath.
Yes.
Would you be willing to share a little bit more about that?
Um, yes. So, well, it depends. You can look at it at different angles, I think. But
Yes.
for to begin with, I think it's very good to go, for example, to the sensations in the belly of the breath, because I sometimes do an exercise with my students. Um, when you just think about your breath, or you go, yeah, with your thoughts towards your breath, or you try to feel your belly, I mean, then you already are more grounded. So when you push a person who is thinking, and that's even with the head, but who's thinking about his belly and going towards his belly, when you push him, he's more stable on his feet than when he doesn't do that. So when you would say, okay, make a calculation, for example, and then when you push with the same pressure, this person will be less stable. He will go out of his balance more quickly, more easy. So breathing towards the belly is something you can do, and trying to feel the sensations of the belly. So how much does your belly go in and out? Or, if you put your hand on your belly, what can you feel under your hand? So this can be something you can do, but you can also, yeah, just visualize things like breathing towards the legs or towards a body part that is a bit tensed. Yes, there are a lot of things you can do with the breath. But I think the most important
Mm.
thing is to observe the breath in the beginning. And then only when that is going well, you start to do more things with that. Because if somebody is not used to observing the breath, these other exercises or things you can do with the breath will be often creating a bit of tension. And that is something that you don't want.
Yes, we're working towards the lower tension
Yes,
levels.
yes.
Yeah.
So I noticed when you, for example, when you do breath work with people, and immediately you would start to say that they have to calm their breath, like making the breath longer, for example.
Mm.
Uh, then the opposite happens, and they can't do that because they're not used to observing the breath yet. So this is actually the most important part. This first part is to take or to do this exercise, let's say for 2 to 3 weeks every day, and then you can start doing other things.
Mm. And would you suggest, you're sharing about these breathing exercises, and I know this is something that I use a lot
Mm-hmm.
for myself. If someone's beginning with bringing focus and awareness to the breath, is the better place to do this away from their horse, or sort of near their horse, or on their horse, or all those
Yeah,
places?
all those places. For me, it's I I think from the moment you start, I know from experience, from myself and seeing with other people, from the moment you start observing your breath, you reconnect, and you will start to calm down and be more present. So you can do that with your horse if you feel safe with your horse. You can do that with your horse, but I advise to do that also without a horse. So in your house, when you're sitting, when you're lying down, when you're doing the dishes. So every moment that you think about it, you can do it, even if it's only for 1 minute. You're already
Hmm.
getting used to observing your breath then, and it will go easier and easier. So yeah, you can do it everywhere.
Yes, I love that. I know when I was first starting breath awareness, I would even be sitting in my car,
Yes.
and I'd be, okay, am I paying attention to my breath, or
Yes.
am I holding my breath,
Uh-huh.
right? Like really noticing
Yeah.
how much we hold our breath.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, a lot of people do that. Yes. Especially when you have a
Yeah.
stressed day or, Yeah. And it can also become a pattern, of course, when you have I had this pattern for a long time that I was not breathing correctly, and I also held my breath sometimes. And yeah, from the moment you start working with your breath more, it gets better.
Yes, it's a practice for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. And when you I know that there's ways of breathing that are not really as functional as helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a little bit about that? What might someone notice if their breathing is maybe more tension inducing,
Mm-hmm.
or
Well,
yeah, not as helpful?
yeah, I
Hmm.
think one of the things that happens a lot is breathing too fast, and breathing too much in and out. Um, yeah, that's not a calm breath, and it influences also how you feel, but also the opposite. If you feel stressed, it will also influence your breath. But after a while, when you have this pattern, then it's very difficult to feel calm inside if you are in this wrong pattern of breathing too much, like the over breathing, this chronicle
Mm,
hyperventilation, for example. Then it's very difficult. You don't know it, you're not aware of it, but you're chronically hyperventilating, not too much that you're getting into really serious breathing problems because you don't notice it, but it makes your body go into this state of, this fight and flight modus. So your heart rate goes up and you get more tensed, and all these things. And I think this is happening a
mm,
lot, and we have to with doing exercises you become aware of that. And yeah,
hmm.
if you breathe too much, let's say you have some people, they have 20. I did a webinar a few weeks ago. There was somebody who had 20 breaths in 1 minute. Well, that's too much.
Wow.
And
Yes.
yeah, if you're not aware of that, then you can get into trouble. And also with your health, with your physical health, not only mentally or emotionally that you are stressed, but also physically. You can have health problems because of that. So, and you can teach yourself to have a natural breathing pattern again, because a natural breathing pattern is like something between 6 or 8 breaths in a minute if you are not active. So, if you are resting, if you're
Mm-hmm.
sitting or lying or you're reading a book, then you would have 6 to 8 breaths in a minute. And most of the people don't have that. They are over that. They have 10 or 12 or even more. Like I say, this lady had
Yeah.
20.
Wow. And it's not something we often do. I don't often think about actually counting my
No.
breaths in a minute.
Uh-huh.
Hmm. Hmm. I might do heart rate, but
Okay, yes.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. And because I love the reflection of horses and humans,
Mm-hmm.
what do you notice with horses? Say the human that breathes 20 times a
Mm-hmm.
minute and in a more
Mm-hmm.
hyperventilating kind of fashion. What do you notice in their horse typically?
Well, some
Is
horses,
there any?
yeah, there are horses and you will not see such a big difference. But, you have those horses that are always calm and they don't mind nothing, they are very
Yes,
easygoing. But then you have the super
totally.
sensitive horses and they react on it very much. So after this webinar I gave, this was also a lady who was chronically hyperventilating. And I don't know how many breaths she took, but more than those 6 to 8. And she did the exercise that we did in this webinar. And the day after, she sent me an email and she said, "Wow, I did this exercise, and my horse, who is always with her head high and a bit, very alert, she started
Yeah.
to calm down, dropping the head, and she was very, very relaxed and even sleepy a bit. So by breathing differently, her horse could calm down and relax when she was with her, and that is amazing. It's very beautiful. It's nice, and it's to see that it's wonderful to see that happening. And we also see that happening when riders are on their horse. It's you do an exercise for 5 to 10 minutes, and the horse is just moving differently because then the horse can relax and he can move better, and this is really great. It's really
Mm.
simple, and everybody can learn it and everybody can use it, and it doesn't cost money because you always have your breath with you. So yeah, I would say everybody should learn this.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I know I've read about horses that how horses, because they're such community
Mm-hmm.
minded creatures, and they'll often syncopate their breath.
Mm-hmm.
They'll sort of sync up the breath to their rider's breath.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes a lot of sense for the mare that was feeling so much more relaxed with her
Mm-hmm.
human kind of finding that balance in her breath.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Mhm. That's great. So you shared about some of these exercises that you do. Would you be willing to yeah, share a little bit about what a typical exercise or a starting point for someone who's just beginning to work with the breath would be?
Well, the starting point would be to just, yeah, to find yourself a quiet place and put your hand on your belly and then just breathe and don't try to change anything. The only thing I do say to or advise to do is to breathe in and out through the nose. So not breathing in through the mouth and not breathing out through the mouth as well. So just breathing in and out, and you don't have to count your breath. You don't have to try to make your breath deeper or more shallow, or you just observe and you go to the sensations that you feel under your hand, that is on your belly. That's the only thing, and not thinking about it. So a lot of people try to think about it, but it's actually more or better to go to the sensation, so to feel the breath. Because I heard you say in the beginning or a moment ago, the breath awareness. So trying to see how the breath is going and thinking about it. I forgot how you mentioned it. And that is good, but for a beginner, it's often better to go to the sensations of the breath and to not think about it. And this is difficult because a lot of people will start to think about it. But if you practice it, suddenly there comes a moment that you feel, okay, this is only the sensations that I'm feeling, and I'm not thinking about the breath. It's, yeah, you feel it when it happens.
Beautiful. And so doing that over a period of time for a few minutes
Yes.
here and there throughout the day.
And then you will
Yes.
feel, even the first time you do it, that you will start to calm down. And it's just because you are connecting to your body. You're out of your mind and you're connecting to your body. But if you think too much about it, you're not out of your head, and then it can take a bit longer. But so if you just try to feel the sensations, then you will start to calm down. And the breath will become slower and more shallow. So not deeper. A lot of people think when you relax, you start to breathe deeper, but it's not true. You start to breathe less deeper and a more shallow breath, which is a healthy breath, a
That's
natural breath if you are resting. So that's a bit of a
yes.
misconception that a deep breath, like, is relaxing. It's not, because when you start doing that, you will have more and more the feeling that you want to breathe more deeper again. But if you are really relaxed, you will feel that the breath starts to be less. You are not going to breathe in and out as deeply anymore. And it goes slower and more shallow. And that is what happens
Wow.
when you start observing the breath.
Because
Maybe
I notice that,
what?
yeah, I notice I often breathe really
Yeah, but it
deeply.
can help in the
um,
beginning, let's say 1 or 2 times, because, yeah, but if you keep doing it, like, let me, how can I say in English, the full yoga breath, like breathing in at
yeah,
the belly, then the side of, and then the chest. It's good for some
yes.
things, like to energize your body and to feel more energy for a while, because it's actually stimulating that. But if you want to calm down, it's not smart to do that. Then it's better that you start breathing less deeply in, and because then you have
Mm.
more carbon dioxide in your blood. Well, it's a bit technical now, but and it helps you to be calmer. And there are
Very
interesting
interesting.
books about that, actually. So you can read about the Buteyko method, for example, if you Google that. And well, the other book, which is interesting, is from Patrick McCowan, I think. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's Patrick McCowan. And he also explains that very well. And in Dutch, we have a very good book, but it's not translated in English, I think. So that's maybe not interesting here. But these are very good books to look at, and yeah, very good exercises also in those books, and you can use these exercises also to improve your breath and your work with your horse.
I Thank you. That's actually very helpful. I'm going to go have a look
Yes.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I'm training in osteopathy, and one of the things that I learned was that the deep in breath actually creates an external rotation of the ribs, which
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah.
compresses the sympathetic ganglions, and so you get this sort of sympathetic nervous system activation happening each time you breathe in quite
Mm-hmm.
deeply.
But
Yeah.
it has more
Mm.
also to do with the out breath. So if people start to breathing in very deeply, they often also breathe out a lot. And it's that balance that
Mm.
needs to be good. But normally, when you are calmly, it goes naturally, and you don't have to breathe in and out to be calm. The more calmer you are, the more shallow you will start breathing. And that is something, without even reading those books, always had resistance for these yoga full breathing exercises, because it felt very unnatural to me. And then after a while, when I was meditating a lot, I could feel when I was like 10 to 15 minutes in meditation, I could feel that my breath, so when I was calming down, was getting very like invisible almost. And you couldn't hear and you could see it. And it felt amazing. It felt so good. And I was so present when that happened. And I could feel this is a natural breath. And then afterwards, I started reading about it and I say, yeah, well, that is what it is. And it's not true what they always tell me that I have to breathe in and out very strongly to relax. It always felt unnatural to me. Yeah, it was like I had to do a lot of, how can I say, um, activity for that. You know, it took me a lot of energy to do that. It was not relaxing. And yeah, after reading the books, I now know why it is. And so I started developing that more and using that more in my horse training. And you know, it's helping. The horses just feel it when you use this subtle breathing technique. They feel it and they calm down easily.
Mm, that's wonderful. And I'm thinking in terms of horses, and I'm thinking if we saw our horse puffing away and nostrils flaring
Yes,
and breathing really
it's
deeply, we'd
true.
be like, that's probably not good.
Yeah, but we do it. We think,
Right?
oh, that must be good because everybody tells us so. But you have
Yeah.
breathing exercises that are very good with the breathe in and out, deeply in and out for other purposes. Okay, but when we talk about breath work to calm down and to be grounded and to be, to be able to calm down your horse, that is not what you need to do.
Mm. That's excellent clarity. Thank you. Thank you. Because I think most of us have been taught, okay, you just need to breathe in really deeply and
Mm-hmm.
this will calm your system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for you as well. So you chatted a little bit about this idea of bringing awareness to different areas of the body, like the legs.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously when we're riding, it's a very good thing to have good awareness of our legs and our
Mm-hmm.
seat.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like for you? What would be something you would share with a student to bring that awareness
Mm-hmm.
into the legs, the feet, the seat?
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing, for example, could be if you want to have a soft seat, like really being into contact also with the horse, you could do an exercise that you breathe towards, I don't know the name in English, but where the um, legs are connected to your pelvis on the front side here, this part. How does this called
Yeah.
in English? There's something
Uh,
tension there with the riders.
the groin.
How?
Yeah. Sort of if we call it like the groin or the adductors.
Yeah, in that
Yeah.
region a bit.
Yeah.
Some
Yep.
people are a bit too tense there. It's important when
Yes.
you want to have a good seat that your hips are soft and open, that they are supple as well. And a lot of people have problems with that. So they could be more supple in that region. So what is helpful is that you breathe towards that region and that you breathe it open. So it's a visualization, but your body reacts on it by releasing the muscles there. And for example, myself, the first thing or the first time I noticed that this was really helpful was when I had a lot of problems with my left hip. I had an accident with a horse, and this hip was totally blocked after a few months because of, yeah, I was with my other leg very much injured. So all my weight came onto my left leg, and because of that, this started to be really tensed, and it
Mm.
was getting really painful also when I was walking long distances. Long distances. When I walked more than 10 or 15 minutes, I already started feeling the pain. And
Wow.
then a yoga instructor told me this exercise, and she asked me to do an exercise which was really painful in that region. And she said, now you are going to breathe towards that, and you are going to visualize that this is opening, that these muscles are softening, and yeah, it's opening. And I did
Mm-hmm.
this for 10 minutes, and suddenly I could open this leg really much further. So, and I could feel this stretch was much easier. So the pain was less. And then she told me, when you go walking now, do the same while you are walking. So I did
Mm.
that, and this was after this first lesson, the first time that I could walk half an hour without having pain. So I started also using this when I was riding, because also when I was in the saddle, I could feel that this left hip was more tensed and it was influencing my riding in a negative way. And so when doing this exercise, I could help myself loosening up that hip. So it's actually not an exercise with your hip, it's more of a visualization and breathing towards that painful body part. And this is already helping to soften that body part. So when you're on your horse, you can use that to sit more open, to sit more supple and soft. And you can do that with every body part that you feel is, not moving like it could move, that lost a bit of his natural, um, movement, and
Yeah.
it's helping you to get back to a more balanced movement, a more soft movement. So this is something you can do, for example, or when you have, what I often see is the ankles who are a bit tensed. It's the same. You can do that with your ankles. And I often also advise people to not only do that on their horse, but to do that also when they're off their horse, without the horse. And, if you have somewhere a body part that is aching a bit or it's a bit stiff, then you can do that. And it's really helpful.
Mm. Yes, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And, oftentimes I think what happens, and you may have felt that in your hip injury, is that our tendency is to sort of not want to look at that area or not
Mm-hmm.
want to connect with that area,
Mm-hmm.
right? That injured area. And isn't it interesting that it actually was much more helpful to
Mm-hmm.
connect into that region. Hmm.
And also, first you are frustrated about it and you don't want it, like you say. But then, from the moment you bring your awareness there, you can see it as, oh, that's interesting. What is going to happen now? And this is also helpful to open it more up, because then you're open to what is happening there instead of what you say, or you don't want to see it and you don't want to feel it. So, yeah,
Hmm.
it's also how you look at it. That's right.
So that bringing that curiosity
Mm-hmm.
to that area and just yeah, being interested in how it's going to maybe unwind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I find that fascinating 'cause I had that with my back injury
Mm-hmm.
where I didn't wanna look at it, and eventually I just went into it. I actually found, with the breath and things, I found there was a lot of emotion there,
Mm-hmm.
in my injury. At my injury, there was a lot of, I wasn't able to ride, and there was a lot of frustration about the limitations I was experiencing. I'm sure us as a lot of riders can maybe relate to that, where we're used to being really agile and free and
Mm-hmm.
able-bodied,
Mm-hmm.
and then the sense of I can't. So I found there was lots of emotion that arose up, but that it was very, very powerful to spend the time just being curious about that area and
Mm-hmm.
what was going on there. I even at the time was I would see sometimes colors, or I would see different things. I'm with some of my intuitive work. I would feel different things come up.
Mm-hmm.
So I found it very, very, very helpful to do that, and then especially getting back into the saddle as well. It was one of the things that kept me safe too, to be aware of that area so that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't overdo it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I think many of us as horse people have probably had injuries and
Yes.
things that this could be really helpful for coming back from those injuries
Yeah.
well, in a good way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Aw. And what did you notice in your horse when you started to breathe into your hip? The horses that you were riding, did you notice any change as
Yes,
that
yes, of
opened
course.
up?
Yes. They like it when you are more softer and when you are, because otherwise you're frustrated about yourself, and this is also an emotion that they know you are having. So and they, of course, they like it better when there's no frustration. So yeah, I could feel the difference, of course. Yes, they were also moving better and feeling better, and I think they were also happy that I could work with that and being curious about it instead of frustrating myself in that. Um, yes, yeah,
That's yeah. Mm-hmm. They're such good reflections that way, aren't they?
yeah,
Showing us, giving us immediate feedback
yes.
to, oh, that's working. That's working for me.
Mhm,
Hmm.
mhm, mhm.
Beautiful. Oh, good. And so for all those listeners out there who are maybe journeying through this time with a horse that they, others or themselves might consider more difficult, maybe more emotional or more anxious, um, how might we pull this breath work in to assist those horses, or assist us with working with those kind of horses?
So you mean if we work with a more difficult, like anxious or yeah,
Yeah.
what we can do to help
Yeah.
them? Yes.
Yes.
For me, it's always simple. The first thing is to just be calm yourself and to show empathy, and so not blaming the horse and not feeling frustrated about it, because the horse is only showing what is going wrong or what he's feeling. And if you can stay calm, then you can also listen better, and you can also often feel better what's going on. And so you are talking about intuition, and you're also working with your intuition yourself. So I think also when you're more calmer and more connected with your body, then often intuition comes in, and then you suddenly know, okay, maybe I do this, or maybe we can try to help like that. And so that's really the first thing you need to have. That's the connection with yourself and being calm, and also um, not wanting too much. That's also what I see a lot happening. People find it difficult often to just wait and stand with the horse and just be patient. And if you don't know it today, then there's always another day. So I think the mindset of always trying to help immediately is not always good or helpful. It's sometimes
Hmm.
better to let go of things, and in the meantime just be there, be together, and suddenly when the energy is right, something can grow out of that. So I think that is very important. So not wanting to go too fast or doing too much, and let the horse also show you what it needs. Yeah, I think that's important
Mm.
to be open to what the horse is saying.
Yes. Yes. I'm so appreciative of you saying that, because I've learned that through from a few horses over the years,
Yes,
because I think it's so common that we want to put our own agenda
yes.
or expectation
Mm-hmm.
on our horses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that sense of, can I step back? Can I calm myself enough to be able to listen to my knowing
Mm-hmm.
about what's needed here,
Mm-hmm.
and listen to what's coming through from that horse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for that. So what would your, I also love that you're sharing that sense of doing less, asking for less.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know what, maybe a typical training session with you would look like. in terms of that, of a horse that maybe has been deemed somewhat difficult. I say that with quotation marks because
Mm-hmm.
we know that there's other things going on. But
Mm-hmm.
what would that look like for you on a typical day to work with a horse like that? How long would you work? What sort of things would you bring in
Well,
to that
it,
work together?
it's difficult to say how long I work with a horse until something goes better, but I
Yeah.
don't. How can I say? I will always start with just doing nothing. I'm just there with the horse, and
Mm,
I experience time with the horse. How is he or she? And then I call it bonding time. And I just sit with the horse in the field, and I would do that maybe for a few days, sometimes even longer, for a few weeks. Doesn't matter. And I wait until the horse is ready to make contact. So, of course, during that time, I can also go to the horse and pick him up. Let's say the vet is coming or the hoof trimmer. So it doesn't mean I can't go and get the horse, but I spend a lot of time being with the horse without wanting something from the horse. And I wait for the moment that the horse just is getting curious, wants to come to me, sniffs at me, touches me, and then I know, okay, this horse is ready to maybe do something more. And then I continue from there. And I
mm-hmm,
always start in liberty, so I try to build a connection and a clear communication with my horse or with the horse I'm training, and I do that in liberty. So I only take the horse on a halter on a rope when it's necessary for daily care,
mm,
or if he has to go from one field to the paddock or to his box. And more than that, I don't do a lot of, but I spend a lot of time with the horse, and that is for me
mm,
how, or I hope that everybody would do that, because I feel it's so important for the horse and also for the human. You know, when you have a new horse, it's so important to bond in a natural way, and horses bond naturally in liberty. They don't take another horse on a rope and say to the horse, "Now you're going to follow me." No, they bond in liberty, and that's the most
mm-hmm,
natural way for a horse, and also the way that gives them the most, confidence, because they know if you work in liberty or you are in liberty with the horse, they feel they can take distance when they want to, they can come to you when they want to, they are in charge actually of their own body, of their own what they do. And therefore it's also important, that's maybe important to mention here, it's not in a small area that you work with the horse in the beginning. So you don't work in a round pen or a picadero or a little paddock. You really need a lot of space for the horse to feel safe. So when you work with a difficult
mm,
horse like that, most of the time these horses don't have a lot of confidence in humans because they had a lot of negative experiences. Some of them are even badly traumatized. And if they don't have enough space, they will connect more difficult. And people often think, no, that's not true, because then I can't catch him. The field is too big. Yeah, that's because it's too soon to catch the horse then. So
mm.
the horse needs to have this, has to know that he can go far away from you if he wants to. Because then the moment he decides, now I'm ready to come closer, then you really know it's his decision. And it's so that's much better. Then you really also know
Uh-huh.
he's ready for the next step. So this is how I start with any horse.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
That's it's amazing, and I mean I know for myself I haven't always felt like I was the most patient person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always so amazed with being, this kind of thing, because there's the times where, I go out to visit my horse and they're like, I'm grazing, I've got amazing grass in front of me. Why would I want
Yeah.
to connect in?
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely that part of me that's like, no, you need to,
Yeah.
we need
Yeah.
to go do something,
Yes.
so can you describe kind of the process within yourself of that, of building the patience around that, or or having the patience around that to wait and to
Yes.
just allow the horse to
Yes.
come to you.
Well,
Hmm.
of course, what you mentioned here, that sometimes you just want to get your horse and do something, that happens after a while. It's not that I'm always going to wait, but
Yeah.
what I was saying was when I start out with a horse, I do wait.
Hmm.
And from the moment the
Yeah.
connection gets stronger and I get to know my horse better and my horse gets to know me better, then I can have that I say, okay, now I'm going to put a halter on and we're going to go to the arena, for example. And that's normally not a problem when the connection is good and you are training in a good way. And sometimes my horses also say, no, I don't feel like it and I would prefer to stay in the grass. But then we have this connection exercises to communicate, and most of the time we can work that out. But
Hmm.
yeah, the process is, now I don't have any problems with that anymore. I can wait if it's necessary. I could wait 2 months. It's just I enjoy I enjoy this quiet time with the horse. And I know if I
Mm.
take more time in the beginning, that it builds such a strong foundation. So I'm willing to put in that effort and to take that time, because if it goes slow in the beginning, why should I try to speed it up and do things that the horse doesn't like to have more difficulties than later on? So I know now from experience that if I take the time for it, that it gets easier and easier. And if I don't do that, it gets harder and harder. So that's also why it's so easy to do that, because you're doing
Mm.
the correct thing for yourself, because it gets better for you as well. But in the first place, for the horse, that the horse is building also a true confidence and true trust in you. And you need that if you want to have a good relationship with the horse and if you want to have your training successful. So yeah, I don't have any problems with waiting. I enjoy my time then
Mm.
when I'm sitting there. I use it, and I have a reason to not clean the house, and you know. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
it doesn't matter. It's fun to do that. You can sit there without
Beautiful.
feeling guilty. I often say to my students, then they say, oh, I have to go out 1 hour or more. I say, oh, you can choose how long, but you can say to your husband, it's in the course or in the lesson, and then you don't have to feel guilty that you're not in the house cleaning up. And then they laugh with that. So it's,
I mean, really, how often do we give ourselves
yes.
that space and
Uh-huh.
time, right? Without doing doing other
Yes.
things. So, yes,
So you're not
beautiful,
only working
beautiful.
on the connection with your horse, but you're also, taking time for yourself, and we should all do that. So it's
Yes.
it's good.
Yes, and working on your own
Mhm.
breathing and your own awareness
Mhm.
and all those good things that we talked about at the beginning.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. And so what does that often look like? So you're out, you're hanging out with your horse, maybe they're
Mhm.
grazing, and then the horse, at some point then connects with you
Mhm.
or shows signs of wanting to connect with you. Do they touch you? Do they look at you? Are not noticing ear movements?
Mhm.
What does that look and feel like? I'm sure it's different with
Yes,
each
it's
horse,
different,
but
but normally they all, after a while, they come and touch you and sniff you and push you a bit and try to see what's happening when I bite in her shoes, or those things. And if it feels okay, then you just let them. If it feels a bit intrusive, then you can do two things. You can say, okay, I'm going to move here. And especially with horses that are a bit unsecure, and it has taken a long time for them to do that. That is the best thing to do in the beginning. But
yeah.
yeah, you also have horses that the first day already they come and push you almost out of your chair, or knock you over. So with these horses, you ask them to take a little bit more distance so that they learn, there's also a boundary. I can come close and sniff and touch a bit, but I should not be so rude. So there you already lay the first, how can I say, boundary, or you explain them,
Yeah.
okay, I don't want that, because you have to show respect to their personal space, but you also want the opposite, when they should also know what you want and what you don't want. So you have to be clear to the horse, and so this is, yeah, what can happen. And there are also horses that it
Mm.
takes really a long time, and then you can, instead of staying at one place, you can also walk in the field and see, what's happening when I start walking. Maybe they get curious then, maybe they start following me, maybe they just turn their ear a bit, or maybe you just
Yeah.
watch a bit. So you can do several things.
Yes.
But you just don't go to them. You don't, that's the first phase, of course. So you don't go to
Right.
them. You let them choose when they
Yeah.
want to come to you.
Okay. Okay. And then once they've made that connection, what's the next step from there typically?
Um, well, when they've been doing that for a few times already, then you can do it the
Yeah.
opposite, that you go to them instead, that they come to you. And so you
Mm-hmm.
also do the same. You go in the field, and sometimes you step towards them and you make contact, and then you go away again, to show them, it's not because I come to you that I want something from you. Because there are a lot of horses that think that when a human comes up to them, this human always wants something from them, even if it's only
Mm-hmm.
caressing them, but also haltering them and taking them to the arena, or to do something, to train, and I think it's important that the horse doesn't feel that way about you or any other human. He should know that you can also be there without wanting or without expecting something from the horse, because that also gives a lot of trust, in you.
Mm.
So that is what we do next. So first the horse makes contact, and then you can do the opposite. And when that goes well and the horse is okay with that, you can start touching the horse and also go away again. So it's really step by step. You develop this bond and this communication, and it's after a
Mm.
while you have a mutual language, and you can do things in liberty, like leading in liberty or playing in liberty, or you can herd the horse in liberty. So you walk behind the horse, and then you can ask the horse to go to the left, to the right, to stop, to walk on or trot on. And so you work on the communication, and this communication is very important, not only for the relationship with your horse, but also when you want to train your horse then in groundwork or riding. We build on that. So this is
Mm-hmm.
also a preparation for future training, because the better you communicate with your horse, the better everything else will go. That's logical, of course. So that is how it's done most of the time. But every horse is different, and you have to go about it a bit differently with every horse. And that is what is so interesting. So you cannot say now you have to do this like that. You have to really experiment sometimes and see what happens,
Mm-hmm.
and listen to the horse, how he thinks about things, and adapting to the horse. Yeah.
Mm. That's really lovely. I love there's a feeliness and a like a developing of trust, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can sense that. It's given me some yeah, some really good inspiration here. So
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that, and I'm sure that it has done the same for a lot of the listeners out there to give them, some tools to work with
Mm-hmm.
this. And I can imagine there'll be a few people heading out to just sit in their fields with their horses, and spend some time. So
Yeah.
that is wonderful. Yeah, we're coming up to the end of our hour, which is wild that it's gone by so quickly.
Uh-huh.
It's been just such a pleasure to speak with you and learn from you as
Mm-hmm.
well. And I'm so grateful that you came on and spoke with us today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it was
and
nice.
shared your work.
Mm-hmm.
Yay, good. And so I would love to open up here for any resources. I know you mentioned a few earlier
The
about
books. Yeah.
breathing. Is there any other resources that you really swear by that you
Oh.
really love?
Um, That's I always find that very difficult because I've been reading so many books already that I forgot, I think,
I'm sure.
almost all of them. What am I reading at the moment, which is interesting for this? Have to think. I'm not reading any books about horses at the moment. I would say that, if you come across a book and it's interesting, read as much as you can. That is actually very important, because even the books
Mhm,
that has things in it that you say I don't want to do that are interesting, because then you learn by reading things that you find very good, but you also learn by reading things that are not that, or how can I say, that you don't want to do, because then you
mhm.
also
Mhm.
learn about why people do that, and their I don't find the name in English, but the reasons, yeah, to follow a certain
Yep,
method. It can be interesting
yep.
to read also that. So I think you should read what you think, what you come across, and that you feel, oh, this is something I want to know more about. So yeah, I've been reading about classical dressage, about freestyle riding. I've been reading about all different methods. I think the books of Mark Rashid, that is maybe something that I
Mm,
can
mhm,
say. I always love the books of Mark Rashid. So yeah,
mhm.
and that's what I like.
Okay,
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, and yeah, I don't know. I've
That's
been reading a
great.
lot of books of Margaret Coates as well. I like them. So animal
Yes,
communication, and
yes, she's great.
yes. What else? Yeah, at the moment I can't find the title. Yeah.
Yeah, but those are absolutely helpful. So Mark Rashid and Margaret
Yeah.
Coates, yeah, both
It's a bit my
incredible.
favorites.
Uh,
Yeah.
yes, authors. Yeah, I'm so appreciative. And for you, is there anything that you have coming up at all that you want to share with the listeners, and how they can get in touch with you as well?
What I'm currently working on a membership site,
Mm,
which I'm going to do for people who want to develop more awareness and grow their, or how can I say, yeah, develop more intuition as well. So that will be a membership for horse owners who want to know more about body awareness, breath awareness, but also moving more naturally, breathing more naturally, those
beautiful.
things. And yeah, developing more feel with horses. That is something that is coming up. I think the first lesson will be in June, so we're working hard on it.
Great.
And I also have an online course about liberty training, so the Horsefulness Liberty Training program, and I have an online course about groundwork, where people are coached uh, through the groundwork. Yeah, what I do with horses, or how we train in horseman's training in groundwork.
Mm,
Yeah,
mhm.
that is a bit what we're doing at the moment,
Wonderful.
especially because yeah, we're not allowed to teach physical lessons at the
Yes.
moment. Um, yeah, so we don't have
Okay.
workshops or clinics at the moment that will be held. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
all online
Mhm.
now.
Great, great. And how do people access, what is your
Okay, so the
website?
website is horsefulnesstraining.com, and there are free
Perfect.
ebooks there you can download if you want to know more about the liberty training. So, and another ebook is about groundwork training. So, for people who want to read a bit more
Fabulous.
about that, especially when it comes to the horsefulness training philosophy, that is what you can learn in those ebooks. So, and you can find them on my website.
Great. Awesome. So
Yeah,
horsefulnesstraining.com, everybody, you can head there, and that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Corinne,
hmm,
for this opportunity to speak with you, and I hope that we can do it again
yeah,
sometime
that would be great.
soon. Dive a little deeper. Yes. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Okay. And thanks everyone for listening in. I hope you're all taking care and staying well during this interesting time in our world. And I look forward to connecting with you all again very soon. Okay. Bye for now. Before we finished up today, I wanted to share a few things. One is Karine asked me to clarify the difference between what she referred to as a shallow breath. She was meaning a subtle breath. She asked me to just make that distinction, which is important. And thank you, Karine, for that. And also to share that I am, loving doing remote sessions with some of you. I've been so grateful to hear from you and work with you and your horses. So thanks for that. And I hope I get to do more of that. If you're interested in a remote session with me, you can always email me at alexa@alexalinton.com. Okay, have a wonderful week.